The Tlan homeworld was a peaceful one. They had known no war for centuries. Their society had flourished in an era of harmony and intellectual growth. Their cities were marvels of technology, blending seamlessly with nature, and their people had long abandoned the need for violence, preferring diplomacy to settle disputes. The stars above seemed distant and unreachable to them, yet that all changed in an instant. One fateful day, the skies darkened with the arrival of the Kartak Empire, a race of brutal conquerors who had left a trail of destruction across the galaxy. Their ships blotted out the sun as they descended upon the Tlan colonies. Their weapons were cruel and unrelenting. Cities fell in flames. Entire populations were wiped out in hours. The Kartak showed no mercy, and their demands were simple: surrender or perish. The Tlan were unprepared for this kind of assault. Their military was small, and their technology focused on defense, not offense. They had never known an enemy that fought without rules, without honor, and now they were caught in a war they did not know how to fight. The Tlan Council convened in haste, their once calm discussions now filled with panic. The Kartak were relentless, their ships unyielding, and their forces were overwhelming. The Council's diplomats pleaded for peace, but the Kartak laughed in their faces, offering nothing but death and destruction for their world. Desperate times called for desperate measures, and it was in that desperation that the Council turned to an ancient and long-forgotten alliance, one that had been sealed centuries ago during a time of great uncertainty, when the Tlan had made contact with a young race in the galaxy known as humanity. The humans had been different from the Tlan. They were fierce and unrelenting in battle. They fought wars not for conquest, but for survival, and they had developed a reputation for their brutal efficiency. The Tlan had never wanted to rely on such methods, but now, with their homeworld on the line, they had no choice. A signal was sent out, a call for help to the humans. Their beacon had not been activated in centuries, but it now blazed across the stars, an emergency distress signal pleading for the human race to come to their aid. The Tlan were unsure of what would come next. Would the humans even answer, or had they long since forgotten their ancient agreement? Weeks passed, and hope began to dwindle. The Tlan continued to fight as best they could, but the Kartak's forces were too strong, their armies too numerous, and their power too great. And just as despair began to take hold, something unexpected happened. A single ship appeared in the skies of the Tlan homeworld. It was unlike any ship the Tlan had ever seen. Sleek and intimidating, the hull gleamed in the light of their sun, and it landed with an almost casual precision, as if the ship had done this 1,000 times before. The humans had arrived, and with them came the warriors known for their unrelenting ways, the killers the Tlan had once feared, and now they were their last hope. The air was thick with tension as the human ship touched down on the Tlan homeworld, its sleek frame casting a long shadow over the desolate landscape. The Tlan leaders stood at the foot of the ship waiting for the humans to emerge. They had heard the stories about the human soldiers, the legends of their brutal efficiency in battle, but seeing it in person was something entirely different. The ramp descended with a hiss, and from the shadows emerged figures clad in dark combat armor. Their movements were precise, calculated, the kind of discipline the Tlan had never seen before. These were not diplomats or negotiators. These were warriors. The humans had arrived, and their reputation preceded them. Captain Sarah Miller led the group. Her presence was commanding, her eyes cold and sharp. She surveyed the Tlan leaders with a calmness that seemed unnerving to the peaceful race. She was a woman of few words, but the ones she spoke carried weight. "We're here to end this war," she said, her voice steady and unwavering. The Tlan were unsure what to make of her. The humans looked nothing like the dignified ambassadors they had imagined. They had expected some form of grace or diplomacy, but what they saw instead were soldiers who exuded nothing but lethal intent. The Tlan had never fought like this. Their culture was one of restraint and honor, not one of brute force and destruction. But now they had no choice but to accept help from these so-called killers. The human forces were quick to set up a base of operations near the front lines. They didn't waste time with elaborate strategies or drawn-out speeches. Instead, they immediately began assessing the situation. Their technology was different from the Tlan's, faster, more efficient, and above all else designed for one purpose: to win at any cost. Captain Miller's first orders were simple and to the point. We strike fast, we strike hard, and we leave nothing standing. Her words were clear. There would be no mercy, no compromise, and the Tlan knew it. But what they didn't know was how effective this approach would be. As the first skirmish between the humans and the Kartak forces began, the Tlan watched in awe and horror. The humans moved like a pack of predators, swift and coordinated, their tactics ruthless yet precise. They didn't engage in prolonged battles. They didn't hesitate to destroy anything that posed a threat. They wiped out an entire Kartak patrol in a matter of minutes, leaving nothing but smoldering wreckage in their wake. The Tlan were stunned at the efficiency of the humans. It was unlike anything they had ever seen before. Their own warriors fought with precision, but it was always tempered by a desire to uphold honor in combat. The humans showed no such restraint. They fought not to win but to annihilate. After the battle, Captain Miller addressed the Tlan Council. "This is how we fight," she said. "We don't make enemies, we erase them. We end wars before they can even begin to spread." Her words were blunt, but the Tlan couldn't argue with the results. The humans had turned the tide of battle with terrifying speed, and the Kartak forces were already reeling from the shock. As the days passed, the Tlan began to adapt to the human way of fighting. They started to see the logic in it. While they had long believed in diplomacy and defense, they now understood that sometimes survival required a different kind of strength. They learned to fight without hesitation, to strike first and strike hard. Captain Miller's cold efficiency was beginning to rub off on them, but whether they could truly embrace the human philosophy of war was still unknown. The days that followed were a blur of combat training and strategy for the Tlan soldiers, who had begun to slowly adapt to the human way of fighting. It was a world apart from the Tlan's accustomed methods of engagement. Their past victories had been achieved through carefully measured responses and calculated diplomacy, but the humans showed them a different path, one forged in the fire of necessity. They had to act, and they had to act quickly. Anything less would result in their annihilation. Captain Miller, ever vigilant, took a hands-on approach with the Tlan commanders. Her orders were straightforward. No mercy, no hesitation. Her voice was stern but not unkind, as though she were teaching them the hard truth of survival. It wasn't just about fighting. It was about understanding that every second of delay could cost them everything. Under her guidance, the Tlan forces began to show signs of change. They started executing surprise attacks, setting ambushes and sabotage tactics that left the Kartak forces scrambling. It was a brutal but effective approach, one that left the Kartak reeling. Each time the humans and Tlan forces struck, it was like a storm, swift, intense, and unforgiving. The Kartak were used to fighting their enemies in open confrontation, but these humans had shattered that expectation, forcing them into a defensive position. The Tlan were slowly becoming more like their human counterparts, abandoning their earlier hesitation in favor of the cold calculation required to win the war. They no longer waited for the Kartak to make the first move. They made it clear that they would be the ones to dictate the pace of the conflict. The first major offensive with humans and Tlan fighting side by side came when a Kartak supply base was discovered on the outskirts of the Tlan capital. The Kartak had been using it to resupply their forces, preparing for a full assault on the city. The Tlan wanted to launch a defensive operation, but Captain Miller was resolute. "No," she said firmly, looking over the map with the Tlan generals. "We're going to take the fight to them. We're going to cripple their supply lines. If we strike fast and hard, they'll never see it coming." The Tlan generals were hesitant. Their natural instinct was to defend. The concept of striking deep into enemy territory was foreign to them, a departure from their ancestral approach. But Miller's confidence was contagious. She had fought battles on countless worlds and had survived by thinking like a predator. And so they struck. The operation was swift and precise. The Tlan and human forces infiltrated the supply base under the cover of night, using every tactic the humans had taught them. There were no drawn-out battles. They moved quickly, using explosives to disable communication systems, setting traps for Kartak patrols, and systematically dismantling everything that could be used against them. By the time the Kartak forces realized what was happening, it was too late. When the smoke cleared, the base was in ruins, and the Tlan were left standing victorious, though still shaken by the brutality of it all. The human soldiers didn't celebrate. They simply moved on to the next mission, as if it had been nothing more than a routine operation. The Tlan were left to reflect on what they had learned. They had never imagined such violence could be so effective. In their old way of thinking, it was dishonorable to strike with such savagery. But now, they understood. The humans didn't fight for honor. They fought to win. And in this cruel new galaxy, that made all the difference. Captain Miller watched the Tlan soldiers from a distance, her eyes scanning the battlefield for any sign of weakness. She wasn't looking for praise or thanks. She wasn't even sure if the Tlan truly understood what they had learned. But she knew that when the Kartak came again, and they would be ready. The battle for survival had only just begun. The victory at the Kartak supply base sent shockwaves through both the Tlan and the Kartak forces. The Tlan, once timid and slow to act, were beginning to embrace their new tactics, becoming more ruthless with each passing day. For the humans, the success was just another mission, another task completed without fanfare. They never celebrated, never paused to reflect. They simply moved forward, always focused on the next objective. But the Kartak were not so easily shaken. Humiliated by the loss of their supply base, they prepared for an all-out counterattack, assembling their full might in a coordinated strike against the Tlan capital. The Kartak knew the importance of the city. It was the heart of the Tlan resistance and the last stronghold capable of holding them back. If they could break it, the Tlan would crumble and the galaxy would be at their mercy. Captain Miller stood in the command center of the human fleet, eyes fixed on the tactical map. Her mind worked like a machine, calculating every possible move before it even happened. The Kartak forces were closing in, and the time for subtlety had passed. The Tlan had learned much, but they were not yet ready for the scale of what was about to come. This would be their ultimate test. "This is it," Miller said, her voice low but steady. "We hit them hard, we hit them fast, and we break their spirit before they can break ours." The Tlan commanders gathered around, their faces grim. They had seen what the humans were capable of, but this was something different. The Kartak were coming with everything they had: warships, ground forces, air support. It was going to be a brutal fight. The Tlan leaders exchanged uneasy glances, still unsure about the humans' no-holds-barred approach, but they knew they had no other choice. They had to fight to survive, just as the humans had taught them. Miller turned to her officers, giving them brief but sharp instructions. "We'll hit their command ship first. If we can cripple their ability to coordinate, the rest will fall apart." Her words were clear, decisive. There was no room for hesitation. She didn't just want to win this battle. She wanted to send a message. As the combined forces of the humans and Tlan moved into position, the first wave of Kartak warships appeared on the horizon. The human fleet opened fire with deadly precision, each shot calculated to take out the Kartak ship's vital systems. But it was not just firepower that made the difference. It was the way the humans fought. They didn't follow predictable tactics. They did the unexpected, striking at weak points, forcing the Kartak to react to them. The Tlan ground forces, equipped with the new human tactics, joined the fray. They had learned to move quickly, to be as aggressive as the humans. Their once precise, defensive formations now gave way to fast-moving, merciless assaults. Where they had once hesitated, they now struck with deadly force. There was no room for second-guessing, no time for a return to their old ways. The Kartak were taken by surprise. The battle on the ground was fierce. The Kartak, seeing the Tlan and humans working together so efficiently, began to crumble under the pressure. Their forces were disorganized, scrambling to fight back, but the humans and Tlan had already anticipated their every move. They had learned to think like their enemies, to fight like them, but with the cold, calculated brutality of the humans. In the sky above, Captain Miller led the assault on the Kartak flagship, her ship cutting through enemy lines with surgical precision. Her team of human pilots moved as one, hitting targets with the speed and coordination of a well-trained pack. The flagship's shields flickered as the humans' firepower took its toll, and then, with a final, explosive shot, it was crippled. The Kartak's communications were severed, their coordination shattered. The Kartak were in disarray. The Tlan capital, once on the brink of destruction, had turned into a fortress of resistance. And now, for the first time since the invasion began, the Tlan had the upper hand. Captain Miller looked down at the battlefield, her expression unreadable. "We've won today," she said softly, though there was no satisfaction in her voice. But the war is far from over. The victory at the Tlan capital was only temporary. Despite the Kartak's disarray, they were far from defeated. In the aftermath of their flagship's destruction, the enemy regrouped, retreating to remote corners of their forces to lick their wounds and plan a more devastating response. The Kartak were not a race to easily concede defeat, and they had learned from their previous mistakes. Now, they were coming back with a vengeance. Captain Miller and her team knew this. As much as the Tlan celebrated their hard-won success, they understood that the Kartak would be more dangerous than ever. The victory had been crucial, yes, but it was just the beginning. The Kartak were planning a full-scale retaliation, one that would not only target the Tlan but attempt to wipe out the combined human-Tlan forces once and for all. "We've got a window," Miller said, her voice calm but filled with urgency. "We hit them before they can fully recover. The longer we wait, the stronger they'll get." The Tlan leaders, though shaken, stood firm. The taste of victory was bitter, but it had given them a newfound sense of hope. They had fought alongside the humans and survived. They had seen firsthand what a well-placed strike could do, what ruthless efficiency could accomplish. Now, they were ready to face the coming storm. But the Kartak's counterstrike was swift. They gathered their forces, bolstered by reinforcements from other regions of the galaxy. New warships, stronger and better equipped than the ones before, appeared on the horizon. The Kartak were mobilizing for their largest offensive yet, with no intention of holding back. The humans and Tlan had to be ready. In the war room, the mood was tense. Miller stared at the holographic map of the battlefield, her mind running through the possibilities. The Kartak were making their move, and it was clear that they intended to strike at the heart of the Tlan defenses once more. If the enemy couldn't be stopped now, the entire Tlan civilization would fall. This time, however, Miller was determined to prevent that from happening. "We need to hit them where they're weakest," Miller said, turning to her team. "They'll come at us with everything they've got, but we can still turn this around. We have to disrupt their command structure again, take out their central coordination." The plan was set. A joint human-Tlan task force would infiltrate a major Kartak base located on a barren moon in the system. The base was key to the Kartak's strategic operations, and if it could be crippled, the Kartak's entire invasion would lose direction. They had to act quickly and decisively. The human and Tlan forces moved into position, readying for the operation. As the countdown began, the Tlan commanders, now trained in human tactics, exchanged determined glances. The fear they had once felt was gone. In its place was resolve. Captain Miller stood before her crew, the last briefing before the assault. "We're not just fighting for survival anymore," she said. "We're fighting to send a message. We are not the victims. We are not weak. We will never stop fighting. Understand that." The ships launched into the blackness of space, headed toward the Kartak base. The tension was palpable, but there was no turning back now. The humans and Tlan were a united force, and for the first time in the war, they felt a genuine hope that they could overcome whatever the Kartak threw at them. But they also knew that the Kartak would not go down without a brutal fight. The clash was inevitable, and the battle that awaited them would test the limits of both sides. The outcome would decide whether the Tlan could truly survive this war, or if they would fall like so many others before them. The Kartak base on the barren moon was an imposing fortress, its jagged edges cutting through the darkness like a blade. The Tlan and human forces approached in silence, their ships cloaked, as the massive structure loomed closer with every passing second. Captain Miller stood at the head of the operation, her face hard as stone, her mind already processing every scenario. She had fought wars on 100 worlds, but this mission, this fight, felt different. It was more than just survival. It was about proving that the Tlan, even with their peaceful past, could stand against the universe's most brutal forces. The plan was straightforward: infiltrate, destroy the Kartak command center, and cripple their ability to wage war. The humans and Tlan had trained together for this moment, honing their tactics, adapting to one another's styles of warfare. The Tlan were no longer the hesitant diplomats of old. They had learned the ways of ruthlessness, efficiency, and speed. They would fight side by side with the humans, executing a strike that would throw the Kartak into chaos once again. Miller's voice came through the comms, low and steady. "We're in position. Everyone knows their roles. Remember, we move fast, we move smart, and we hit hard. The Kartak will be expecting a conventional assault. Let's prove they don't know a damn thing about us." The Tlan forces, equipped with newly acquired human weapons and armor, nodded silently. They had transformed. Gone were the days of hesitation. They were ready to fight as savagely as their human allies. The infiltration began without a hitch. The Tlan scouts, moving with a fluidity they had never possessed before, slipped past the Kartak's outer defenses. The human soldiers, ever vigilant, covered their movements, ensuring no one was left behind. The mission was well executed, each team working like a well-oiled machine, every move calculated and precise. Once inside the base, the real challenge began. The Kartak weren't about to let their stronghold fall without a fight, and the moment the human-Tlan alliance breached the first line of defense, the base came alive with alarms. Gunfire echoed through the corridors, but it was nothing the humans and Tlan hadn't prepared for. They fought their way through, moving in perfect synchrony, crushing everything in their path. Each room cleared was another step closer to their objective. The command center. Captain Miller led the charge, her squad at the ready, cutting through Kartak soldiers with deadly accuracy. The Tlan had quickly adapted to the human combat style, unleashing their newfound ferocity. They had learned to be efficient, to strike when the moment was right, and to never leave an enemy alive if they had the chance to eliminate them. There was no hesitation now, only action. "Stay focused," Miller said, her voice cutting through the chaos as her team moved deeper into the heart of the base. "This isn't over yet." They reached the command center's massive blast doors, but as they prepared to breach, a wave of Kartak reinforcements poured into the hall, forcing them to take cover. The humans and Tlan returned fire, and the sound of gunfire rang out in a deafening chorus. The Kartak were relentless, but their disorganization was their downfall. The humans knew exactly how to exploit their weaknesses, and the Tlan fought with a newfound confidence they had never known before. The doors to the command center finally gave way, and with a swift, coordinated assault, the human Tlan team overran the control room. The Kartak commander, a hulking figure with piercing red eyes, stood in defiance, but he was no match for Miller's squad. Within moments, he was neutralized, and the heart of the Kartak war effort lay in ruins. Miller stood over the wreckage, breathing heavily. "It's done," she said, looking down at the broken Kartak command center. "Now, let's finish this." The base began to shake as explosions from the sabotage charges tore through the structure. The Kartak were in full retreat, their command severed, and their forces in disarray. It was a victory, but it was not without cost. The mission had taken a toll on both sides. Yet, for the first time in this war, the Tlan knew that they had struck a blow so decisive it could change the course of the entire conflict. The humans and Tlan moved to evacuate, but as they prepared to leave, Miller looked back one last time at the ruined base. "We've given them a taste of what's to come. Let's make sure the Kartak never forget this lesson." The battle was far from over, but for the first time, there was hope in the air, a hope that together, the humans and Tlan might just be able to win this war. The Tlan and human forces made their way back to their ships, the destruction of the Kartak command base still fresh in their minds. They had achieved the impossible, taking down a heavily fortified stronghold with ruthless efficiency, but the reality of the war was far from over. The Kartak were a relentless enemy, and while their command had been shattered, their forces were still vast, and their thirst for revenge was undeniable. This victory had given the Tlan hope, but it had also reminded them of the harshness of the galaxy they now inhabited. Captain Miller surveyed her crew, her expression unreadable. As they boarded their ships and prepared for the long journey back to their staging area, she knew this was only the beginning of a much larger conflict. The Kartak would regroup, and when they did, they would come with everything they had. The next battle would be even more brutal, and the stakes higher than ever. "We've done what we needed to do," Miller said into the comms as the ships lifted off. "But the war isn't over. We've sent them a message today, but there's a lot more to come." The Tlan commanders nodded in agreement. They had learned much from their human allies, but they also understood the gravity of the situation. The Kartak would not be easily defeated. They were a race built on war, and they would strike back with a vengeance. The Tlan could only hope that they were prepared for what lay ahead. As the ships soared through space, the Tlan warriors exchanged looks of determination. They had tasted victory, but they had also tasted the price of war. They had seen their comrades fall in battle, felt the weight of loss. It was a far cry from the peaceful existence they had once known. But now, their world had been forever changed. The war would not end until the Kartak were vanquished, or until the Tlan were erased from the stars. Back on their homeworld, the Tlan leaders convened to discuss the next phase of the war. The loss of the Kartak command center had been a significant blow, but they knew that they couldn't rest on their laurels. The Kartak would be looking for weaknesses, and it was only a matter of time before they launched another offensive. The Tlan had to be ready. "We've been on the defensive for too long," one of the senior commanders, General Vecker, said as he addressed the council. "The Kartak know our homeworld is the heart of this resistance. They'll come again, stronger than ever. We can't wait for them to make the first move. We need to strike before they do." Captain Miller, who had been listening quietly, stood up. "He's right. We can't afford to sit back and wait for them to take the initiative. If we let them dictate the pace of the war, we'll lose. We need to go on the offensive, take the fight to them." The Tlan commanders exchanged looks, some with hesitation, others with resolve. The humans' boldness had inspired them, but the thought of launching an assault against the Kartak stronghold felt like an enormous risk. They were still learning the ways of this brutal war, still adapting to the viciousness required to win. But they understood the logic. They couldn't wait any longer. General Vecker stood. "We will follow your lead, Captain Miller. If we are to survive this war, we must fight like the humans do, without hesitation, without mercy." The council nodded in agreement, and the decision was made. The Tlan would join the humans in a daring offensive against the Kartak stronghold in the nearby system. It would be a bold, dangerous mission, but it was their only chance to turn the tide in their favor. As the fleet prepared for the new mission, Captain Miller felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She had led her people through this conflict, but now she was leading a different people, a people who had once shied away from war, but who had now embraced it. They were ready to fight, but they had to be ready for what was to come. The next battle would be their most dangerous yet, but they would not back down. They had seen what they were capable of, and they would fight until the last breath, knowing that the fate of their world and of their future was at stake. The Tlan and human forces readied themselves for the final assault. They had taken the fight to the Kartak before, but this time, the stakes were higher than ever. The Kartak stronghold in the nearby system was their last line of defense, the heart of the enemy's military infrastructure. Destroying it would not only cripple the Kartak's ability to wage war, but could potentially bring an end to the invasion altogether. But that also meant it was the most heavily fortified target they had ever faced. Captain Miller paced the command center of the human flagship, her mind working through every detail of the upcoming mission. The humans and Tlan had come a long way since the beginning of the war. The Tlan had learned to fight with brutal precision, adopting the same merciless tactics that had earned humans their reputation across the galaxy. The Tlan had proven themselves in every battle, and Miller knew that together they had become an unstoppable force. But the Kartak were no fools. They had fortified their stronghold with layers of defense, each one more advanced and deadly than the last. The fleet would need to break through that fortress, not only with raw firepower, but with speed and strategy. The attack would have to be swift and decisive. If they allowed the Kartak time to regroup, if they allowed them to recover from the initial blow, they could lose everything. "We can't afford to make a single mistake," Miller said as she addressed the Joint Command. "This is it. We break them now, or we risk losing everything. The Kartak have no more reinforcements. If we strike fast, we can destroy their command structure and take the stronghold. They won't have a chance to regroup." The Tlan generals, standing alongside their human counterparts, nodded in silent agreement. The Tlan had come to understand the importance of attacking with ferocity, with no hesitation. It was no longer about strategy alone. It was about overwhelming the enemy before they even had a chance to fight back. As the fleet set course for the Kartak stronghold, the tension was palpable. The ships moved in tight formation, their engines silent as they prepared for what could very well be their final mission. The Tlan warriors stood ready in the barracks, their armor gleaming under the artificial lights, weapons charged and poised. They had come a long way since they had first met the humans, and now they were ready to show the galaxy just how much they had learned. The battle began with a violent strike from the human fleet. The Kartak defenders, still reeling from previous defeats, were caught off guard by the speed of the attack. The human ships unleashed a barrage of firepower, overwhelming the Kartak's outer defenses and forcing them back. The Tlan forces, following closely behind, landed on the surface of the stronghold, their forces swiftly moving through the enemy's defenses, striking at critical targets. The ground forces moved like a storm, sweeping through the Kartak's stronghold with ruthless efficiency. Every room cleared, every command center disabled, brought them one step closer to victory. The Kartak fought back with everything they had, but the humans and Tlan were relentless. Their strategies were perfect, their coordination flawless. Miller led the charge on the ground, pushing forward with an unyielding resolve. She knew this was the moment. This was their chance to end the war. As she fought, the memories of the battles they had fought together filled her mind. The moments of doubt, the moments of triumph, the faces of the fallen. This was for them, for everyone who had suffered. The Kartak had taken so much, but it would end here, with this final strike. With a well-placed explosive charge, the central core of the Kartak stronghold collapsed. The last of their command structure crumbled, and the enemy forces, without direction or coordination, faltered. The humans and Tlan had done it. They had taken the stronghold. Miller stood at the center of the ruined base, breathing heavily, but with a sense of finality in her eyes. She turned to the Tlan commanders, who stood beside her, exhausted but victorious. "It's over," she said, her voice steady. "The Kartak are broken. We've won." The war wasn't truly over. There would still be pockets of resistance, still skirmishes to come, but this victory had shattered the Kartak's will to fight. The humans and Tlan had proven they could survive in the harshest of conditions, and they had done so together. As they left the shattered base behind, Captain Miller looked toward the stars, knowing that the galaxy had just witnessed something incredible, and it wasn't just about winning the war. It was about what humanity and the Tlan had become. A new force, forged in the fires of survival, and unstoppable when united.